Hello, welcome to the Random Car channel. Tonight we will be doing the transmission service on a 2016 Mercedes-Benz GLA45. Alright, so this is a service in the maintenance manual. It says the GLA45, you have to change the transmission oil and filter every 30,000 miles or 3 years. So my car has about 60,000 miles right now, so it's time for the second change. There's a whole list of items needed. You need some transmission fluid. You need a lock pin for the dipstick. I believe this is one of the filter kits. Gasket. The transmission fluid additive. Another gasket. And another filter. I got my service manual to do the change. So let's get started. Alright, so I warmed up the engine a little bit. I'm going to go to 0 on the ignition. First step is remove the air filter housing and the ducts. Alright, let's get to work. Alright, so let's get this air filter housing and the ducting out. The transmission is just right below this area. Here you can already see the red dot in there. That's the dipstick or the fill tube. So let's get access down there. All right, let's open up the air box first. So get a Torx bit and let's remove the screws. Okay, so once you get the air box open, you'll see there's this ECU here attached to a box. Let's get this off, disconnect the harness. Probably want to get rid of this, and then we'll get here next. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so I've already loosened this, and I'm going to disconnect that plug right there, that sensor. I'm going to disconnect that sensor right there. And then hopefully this box should be loose enough to remove. Okay, so air filter's out. You can see these little plugs here. This is where the air filter mounts to. They were a little, they were well planted in there. And one thing I noticed looking inside the intake was a little oil. And that's one of those things I think people used to, or do, is put a catch can so you don't end up with oil in your intake, especially in turbo cars. Anyway, alright, so we got the air filter housing out. Next step, remove oil filter cover, number 5. Number 5 is that one we just saw at the top of the engine. So let's do that next. Okay, so we'll put a 19mm socket right onto this and remove this filter housing. Don't forget to put oil pan under the car, or you'll end up like me with transmission fluid all over the floor. Okay, so we got the oil filter cover out. Remove the oil filter element. Just pop this guy out of here. Next, unscrew the upper bolts, 6 of oil pan 3. So this is a picture of the oil pan. 1, 2, 3 bolts right there, just right under that filter. And then after you get those bolts number 6, remove the rear lower engine compartment paneling. All right, let's focus on the upper bolts and then we'll move on. So we get a nice view of the transmission. Okay, the 3 bolts, it's a little hard to see from this angle, but you're going to need a T27 Torx. There's 1 bolt right down there. There's 1 bolt just in this wedge here, and there's 1 bolt in that darkness there. Okay, 3 bolts out. Next we go under the car to remove the panel to get access to the underside of the transmission here. Alright, let's go down there. Okay, so my car doesn't have paneling, so it saves me a step. I don't know if someone forgot to put that back in, or maybe, better air cooling for the transmission. Alright, anyway, next step, let's drain the oil from the plug here, and then after that we start removing more bolts from here. Alright, looks like needs some sort of Allen type socket, Allen type wrench. Let's unplug that. Alright, so I got H14 Allen. Let's remove that plug. Okay, so while this is draining, I'm going to start removing the bolts for the pan. So there are 5 more bolts. 1, 2, 3. And there's 1 halfway up the pan on this side, and 1 halfway up the pan on this side. Obviously these 3 are going to be the easy ones, but we're going to have fun trying to get those up top or in the middle. Let's get these bolts and move on. Okay, so the 5 bolts are off down here, and now it's raining oil. Next step is to remove the oil pan. Oh yeah. Alright, so last time I did this, it was surprisingly hard to get the pan off. Just because, again, it's a tight space. But yeah, just work it off, and I believe you drop it out down here. Okay, oil pan out. Still a pain in the butt. Next, get this oil filter out. I believe you just pop it out. Let's see if we can pop that out. We got a big old mess under the car. I'll let the transmission finish draining. So we got the pan out. Don't forget to replace this gasket here with a new one. For the first filter that we got, don't forget to replace this gasket right here on the ring and replace the filter itself. Okay, so clean oil pan. Yeah, definitely make sure you don't introduce any contaminants into the oil pan. Transmissions hate being dirty. Okay, replace the drain plug. Put on the new washer, and then install everything. Install a new filter, install oil pan, tighten up the screws, and let's see, it doesn't tell you the torque. I remember it being very light. Let's see. Okay, so here it tells you 30 Newton meters for the oil drain pan screws. That's about 22 foot-pounds, so not too tight. Okay, so put the drain plug in, put the pans screws on, paneling if you have any, and tighten the upper bolts. So the upper bolts, same thing, 30 Newton pounds. Install a new filter element, oil filter cover, and let's see what's the torque spec on that. Oil filter cover is 25 Newton meters, so a little less than the screws. And yeah, it's a plastic housing, so don't over tighten it or you'll break it. Okay, oil filter cover. Reinstall the air filter housing. Just reverse everything you did and fill it up. Alright, so we got everything back together. Let's see what the next step is. Okay, so next step is filling. We're going to unlock the dipstick tube cap and detach and pour in new ATF. Okay, so before I refill, I'll show you what you need first. So you're going to pop off the locking cap or the dipstick cap. So you're going to need a new locking pin, so make sure you get one before you pop that. Here's some anti-foam solution or the additive, and Mercedes was kind enough to show you how to inject this into the transmission. Not that complicated really. And of course you need some transmission fluid. I'm going to be using Motul, a multi-DCTF. Supposedly this one's OEM equivalent, but you could definitely go to the Mercedes dealership and get the OEM stuff. And importantly, you need to get the separate sort of dipstick. You need the separate dipstick to measure the level in your transmission. So make sure you get one of these. You can find this on Amazon. You could probably even get it at the dealership too. Okay, so let's get refilling. Alright, so here's the engine bay. And the refill is right here, this red dot right down in the cracks here. You will need a funnel to be able to refill that. Alright, so I think the OEM locking pin is actually black in color, but the one I got was red, so there it is. So you have to yank out that pin. Let's see if I can get in there. Okay, so you see I broke the cap, and now I just push in the pin material to unlock it. There you go, and the cap should come off. There we go, save the cap. Now there you go, you see the dipstick, so you stick a funnel in there and refill it with the fluids. Okay, so I got 4 liters in the car. So next, to measure the correct oil level, we have to measure it at a certain temperature for the car. So I have a 724 transmission, and my model is a 156952. In fact, looks like I need about 5.3 liters. And we have to measure it at temperature. So if I have to if I have the temperature at 40 degrees Celsius, I need it at level 4. 70 degrees Celsius at level 5. Right now, I just checked. I have just a little above level 3 at room temperature. Right now, room temperature is about 20 something degrees. So what I'm going to need to do is, I'm going to warm it up first, try to hit 40 or 70 degrees Celsius, and you could look at the look at your gauge for temperature and then run it. Alright, so let me warm up the transmission and let's set the transmission level. Alright, so I got the transmission up to 40 degrees. That took forever. Let's measure and add as needed. Alright, so that was the transmission oil change and filter change for a 2016 GLA45 AMG. So that was a pretty long one. It took me about 6 hours to do, but that's 6 hours making a video. I think I could probably do it in 4 hours. But anyway, yeah, not a terrible job, but it is a bit time consuming to do this. There you go. So that is your 30,000 mile service for a 2016 GLA45 Mercedes. All right, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and leave any questions you got in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your next project.